Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. This is Xiaojun Grace Wang, Deputy Director of the UN Office for South-South Cooperation. It is a great pleasure for me to welcome you all to join today's webinar, showcasing good practices in promoting creative economy and e-commerce for tourism recovery from COVID-19. This is the third of a series of seminars on Travel South over Cloud, organized under United Nations Office South-South Cooperation Cities Project. We all know COVID-19 has severely impacted many sectors of economy, tourism included. And the world, for the first time in the past 2 decades, had witnessed this recess in human development and increase in poverty. However, we also see during the pandemic, digital technology, e-commerce, has been providing us alternative ways of economic and social activities. Digital economy has again proven its value to us. Also, let us remember, while physical assets may be hard to access for many poor communities, there's one asset that we all have, regardless of your wealth level, your social status, your nationality, your gender, your ethnicity groups. This is creativity. And this is creativity of human beings that distinguish ourselves from other creators and from machines. During this pandemic, we see many countries are putting into efforts to harness creativity, to boost creative economy and link it with e-commerce, with tourism. And that is the hope for the new economy. This is particularly important for the global South, where most of the poor people live, where there's such a potential to boost creative economy, e-commerce, and tourism. So today, we will hear from a panel, a distinguished panel, to share with us their experiences and good practices in connecting creative economy, e-commerce, and tourism recovery. They're from various organizations, from United Nations, from international governmental organizations, from municipalities and national authorities. They come from 4 regions all around the world. We also hope through today's exchange, we will be able to explore opportunities to work together in the future through South-South and triangular cooperation. Now, without overdue, let me first start the webinar with remarks from His Excellency, Mr. Mirwahid Azimov, Deputy Secretary General of the Turkic Council, to share remarks on role of creative economy and e-commerce for tourism recovery from COVID-19. The Turkic Council has been an important institutional partner of our office since 2017. We jointly convened the Global South-South Development Expo in Antalya, Turkey. And it has been a key player in promoting South-South cooperation among and beyond its member states at the regional level and global level. It has implemented South-South capacity development projects for tourism development, benefiting local communities and preserving and promoting cultural heritages in its member states. Mr. Asimov holds a PhD in international law from University of World Economy and Diplomacy and has previously worked with the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Uzbekistan, and assumed his office as the Deputy Secretary General of the Cooperation Council of Turkic-speaking states in 2020. So, Mr. Azimov, the floor is yours.
Dear Deputy Director, Ms. Wang, first of all, I would like to wish you all good health. We are passing through difficult times, but I hope we will leave these days behind soon. However, during this process, we should adapt ourselves to the new normal. In this context, I would like to thank UN South Office for organizing this event. Dear participants, Turkey Council is an international intergovernmental organization established in 2009 to increase collaboration between its member states, namely Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, and Turkey. Uzbekistan became member in 2019. The Turkey Council Secretariat's remit covers more than 15 areas, ranging from political and economic to cultural and educational, health to tourism. At the Turkey Council, we show every effort to mitigate the effects of the pandemic in different fields, including tourism. In this respect, we held the 5th meeting of the ministers in charge of tourism of the Turkey Council on 23rd June 2020 to discuss the issues related to the pandemic in the field of tourism. Our ministers exchanged information, experiences, and applied procedures on the precautions taken by the member states for the safe travel of the tourists. Current state of tourism relations under the strictures posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as discussed the ways to strengthen the latest developments in the tourism sector. In line with the decision taken at the ministerial meeting, at the Secretariat, we are working on developing new ideas, creative solutions, and ensuring the experience sharing among our member states. In this regard, we organized an online training program on precautions taken against COVID-19 pandemic in the field of tourism. The training was provided by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of Turkey and attended by the government officials, tourism professionals, and tour operators in the field of tourism. More than 200 attendees participated to the program. In the upcoming period, we'll continue to organize online training programs for the tourism professionals to increase experience sharing among our countries. Due to the current situation caused by the pandemic, we acknowledge the increasing need to further use of digital tools and technology and development of digital skills in tourism sector. We are well aware that applying technology and digitalization in the tourism industry is of utmost importance. Considering the impact of the pandemic, we should find solutions to minimize the effects of these menace in the field of tourism. We can move forward through applying digital tools such as online platforms, database, information applications, insights, and ability to test and scale new products. With the current situation where global air travel and tourism are at standstill, it is essential for tourism businesses to maintain their international presence digitally and build demand for the time when market recovers. Hence, it is important for tourism businesses to build trust with consumers, provide safety for visitors, and to be able to market and sell their services digitally. In this respect, we have some concrete projects. Firstly, we are working to create a single map of touristic destinations of the Turkey countries, which will enable the interested tourists to find out necessary information online. Secondly, in the upcoming period, we are planning to organize virtual tours to the popular destinations in the region, which will allow tourists to visit places virtually. Certainly, we are working on launching a tourism TV channel and using virtual technologies. We know that these projects will take time, but it's necessary to bring solutions to the challenges of the time. In the upcoming period, I hope we will implement these projects and contribute to the development of the tourism in the region and beyond. Dear audience, lastly, I would like to touch upon the Turkey Council's views on South-South cooperation. At the Turkey Council, we are committed to promote South-South and triangular cooperation between the member states of the Turkey Council and the other countries in Global South through innovative and comprehensive regional and cross-regional cooperation initiatives geared towards achieving the 2030 Sustainable Development Agenda. Also to engage in a more inclusive cooperation in areas of common concern for achievement of the Sustainable Development Goals in the Turkey Council member states and in the region. In this regard, vocational trainings in the field of tourism is one of the priority subjects for the Council. Thus, before the pandemic started, 1,000 tourism employees from the member states participated in the training programs on the service sector carried out by the Ministry of Culture and Tourism of Turkey. The UN South-South Office also considers this training as an important achievement for South-South cooperation. Distinguished colleagues, last but not least, as countries gradually lift travel restrictions and tourism slowly restarts in many parts of the world, health must continue to be a priority, and coordinated health protocols that protect workers, communities, and travelers, while supporting companies and workers must be firmly in place. Only through collective action and international cooperation we will be able to revive the tourism sector. I believe this meeting will make a humble contribution to the positive developments in the field of tourism. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Azimov, for your remarks and for showing us the institutional support from Turkic Council for knowledge sharing and for South-South cooperation in this very challenging time. Thank you very much. And next, I would like to welcome Mr. Tunde Fafangwa, Lead Advisor, Digital Center for Excellence Identity, Trade and Economy of the UN Economic Commission for Africa, who will share insights on the role of e-commerce in tourism recovery and the initiative in Rwanda. Dr. Tunde, his mission is to create globally inclusive technology platforms that improve lives. As lead advisor to the Economic Commission for Africa, ECA Digital Center, Tunde is responsible for leading and building ECA's digital initiatives across digital ID, trade, and economy, co-leading the digital transformation strategy for Africa with the Africa Union, which was adopted by the heads of state at the AU Summit in 2020, as well as creating multi-stakeholder dialogue approaches for national digital strategies. Before Dr. Fafungwa's presentation, let us take a virtual tour of Rwanda.
Thank you very much, Grace, and the United Nations Office of South-South Cooperation. In today's presentation, I will cover three big questions that I think are important to take away today. The first is, how big is tourism and how has it been affected by COVID-19 on the African continent? The second is, what is really needed for tourism to recover given the pandemic? And then the third is, what role can e-commerce play in that recovery? So on the first question of how big is tourism in Africa? Well, the simple answer is very big. There are two sets of countries across the 55 member states of the African Union. And the first set of countries is where the percentage of tourism and hospitality related activity is a significant portion of the GDP or national income. And some of those countries include the Seychelles, Cabo Verde, Mauritius, Morocco, Gambia, and others where tourism accounts for up to 38% in the Seychelles and even 15% in Mauritius of GDP. So significant parts or contributions to the GDP. The second state of or set of countries, which you can see on the right-hand side of your screen, are where the absolute amount of tourism is high, even if the percentage of GDP is not that significant. And as we can see, countries like Egypt, South Africa, Morocco, again, have significant dollar amounts of tourism, almost 12 billion in Egypt and almost 8 billion in Morocco. So when tourism was halted by the pandemic, borders were closed, a significant impact was felt across the continent, and some 6 million jobs were lost continent-wide. The second key question we want to answer is, what is needed for tourism to recover? Well, we know that the pandemic and its effects are not going away anytime soon. We also know that tourism is driven by perhaps three critical elements. That's attraction, safety, and convenience. Across the African continent, the attraction is still there. As you could see from the video, there are many beautiful and amazing tourist destinations, of which Rwanda has many. But the recovery has affected the safety and convenience of tourism, and that is what is needed to be addressed to recover. So, taking the case of Rwanda and looking at a brief digital background, in Rwanda, services and software and engineering, web design are available. Rwanda has key partnerships with China and the United Arab Emirates. It was one of the first to join Alibaba's electronic world trading platform. Overall, commerce and business to consumer is concentrated in the airline and hospitality business. The government has an e-government program with a one-stop portal that allows tourists to book tours and purchase permits. And the online presence also exists for key destinations such as the Congo-Nile Trail. So Rwanda is actually quite steeped in e-commerce and a digital background. And they took very significant actions. They participated in the African Union development of a virtual passport. They deployed robots, as you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, and built virtual tourism. They cooperated with China specifically on COVID-19 mitigations. They developed a digital transformation cluster specifically for tourism and travel. They made use of good communications, including drones, comprehensive testing, and other things to develop and address the safety and convenience item of tourism. And so the results of these efforts with e-commerce integrated and digital actions taken for tourism and hospitality as part of mitigating the effects of COVID, was that in a country of 12 million people, they had only 5,600 COVID cases, a very low positivity rate around COVID-19. They are able to resume international air travel and reopen most businesses, including critical restaurants, hotels, and others. Tourism has resumed in Rwanda thanks to these efforts, including the very important e-commerce and digital efforts around tourism and hospitality, and the parks are open for visitors with negative COVID tests. So this really shows that with significant investments in digital infrastructure and the use of virtual tools, making the safety and convenience of tourism to be addressed in this time of a pandemic, it is very possible to recover at least some of the losses from tourism. And with that, I thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Tunde, for introducing this concrete example of Rwanda. And indeed, Africa tourism is big. The impact of COVID means loss of GDP, jobs, and livelihood. And indeed, recovering of this sector means so much, not only for Africa, but also for the whole world. And I heard from you examples of leveraging regional platforms, as well as partnership with other countries within the region and beyond the region, such as China, to improve the safety and the convenience for a better recovery of the sector. And thank you very much. I would like to welcome our next speaker from China. Mr. Li Ming is the Director of the Administrative Committee of the Video Culture Industry Park of Malanshan, Changsha City, Government of China. Mr. Li Ming has many years of working experience in local government, including Kaifu District of Changsha and Gongga County of Tibet. Before the presentation, let's also go to visit China. Let us watch a short introduction video of Malanshan Industrial Park, which is known creative base of Changsha City and one of the key culture and entertainment industrial centers of China. So let us take you there.
1,800 years ago, Guan Yunchang, a famous soldier from Three Kingdoms, stationed troops and raised horses here, and fought against in Changsha and Malanshan Mountain. Today, this brand new creative city will undertake heavier missions, carry more dreams, and achieve greater glory. Here, we can see the applications of 5G, artificial intelligence, big data, cloud computing, and blockchain. They are flourishing here. Creative incubation, digital production, copyright trading, closed-loop and efficient operation of industry. Here, for main-board listed companies, more than 3,000 video and cultural creation enterprises and 100,000 level creative talent clusters are gathered. The industrial factors are fully flowing and growing, and the data continues to flow. In the old village in the city, duck shop is changing from ugly duckling to the white swan. What makes Malanshan? With its nascent force, it originated from the innovative genes that Hunan Broadcasting System has been deeply cultivating for many years, which makes talents here win out. In the cultural base camp of Hunan people, which is the best in the world, a huge reservoir of talents is surging. With its magic, the whole industry chain of scientific and cultural innovations and high-definition video plus content plus application further boost its strength. With its unique charm, it built a cloud platform based on the new infrastructure and laid a solid technical foundation for entrepreneurship. Malanshan are satisfying people's longing for a better life, and they are improving the overall life standard. Thank you very much for the United Nations Thoughts and Thoughts Cooperation Office. And during the critical moment of fighting against the COVID-19, you have organized this webinar so that we can have a platform to share and to exchange. Malanshan Park was founded in 2017. It was located in Changsha, Hunan, with a total area of 15.7 square kilometers. It was landed on Liuyang River. It was the largest national integration of science and technology park. Currently, we have 4 main board-listed cultural companies with a total capitalization of 160 billion RMB. We have more than 3,000 video companies. Currently, we have formed the whole chain of formulating, broadcasting, trading, and monitoring. In 2019, we had a total output of more than 34 billion RMB. With the COVID-19 surging in the world, Malanshan Park is turning crisis into opportunity. It is promoting the online development with all economic indicators on the rise with a 2-digit growth. Changsha is trying to improve its traditional cultural sector and to make good performance in culture. And Changsha is becoming the new first-tier city in China and also the most popular internet sensation city. And for Malanshan, we have the rich environment of cultural innovation, and we accommodate more than 10,000 visitors each day. So I'd like to share with you some points about our development. Firstly, we promote the cultural and innovation development. We need to think from a higher perspective about the layout of the industry and to coordinate industrial development. For Malanshan Park, with its unique advantage is in video. We use the video to promote the cultural tourism, and we have integration of these different elements. This is our thinking and also practice. When making the industrial plan, we use the cultural innovation and tourism as a key focus. We utilize the resource of the park and the basis of the video and cultural innovation. We try to strike the fashionable park, happy park, leisure park, innovative park. And we mobilize the fans and the followers, and we will make brands of our Malanshan Park and to improve the comprehensive output and economic value of the park. We have some 3 square kilometers of space, which is a virgin space and waiting to be developed. And we are now trying to build the layout of 1 axis, 1 belt, 2 wings, and 3 districts and multiple islands. And we are now trying to accelerate the building of the park. We invested more than 700 million RMB to improve the cultural and innovation tourism environment in Malanshan Park and to fully illustrate its beauty of the rivers and the mountains. We also have diversified development. We'll have the 3 different industrial circles to boost the overall development. Firstly, we have the video industry circle. We have authentic contents. We will try to build give full play to the creative advantages of leading enterprises, including Hunan Satellite TV, Mongol TV, and Zhongguang Tianze, and to innovate more content IP and revitalize the ancient villages and intangible culture hidden under the great hills and under the tourism's field of vision through documentary films and live e-commerce broadcasts, so that we can illustrate the true beauty of China's landscapes. And we can attract more customers and visitors in this way. The second is animation game industrial circle. We gather animation game production enterprises with original IP and capability, and the operation mode of content plus community plus high tech will form an industrial scale. We'll cultivate the IP industry chain of animation games and shape China's animation heroes, speed up IP incubation and transformation. The third is digital publishing industry circle. With digital education and online literature as a core, we'll explore the integration of high-quality education and teaching resources with video, games, animation, and live broadcast. We'll promote the development and utilize digital education projects and accelerate the construction of China's online literature town into the most characteristic literary and travel town. And cultural tourism is a sunrise industry, and we have many areas to be improved in. We sincerely invite ladies and gentlemen from the South Office of United Nations and friends to visit. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Li Ming, for introducing the experiences in Malanshan. And this is very important to know that this sector is not just one standalone sector. It links, connects education, health, and all the sectors you have introduced. Actually, city is really the social organization of creativity. And thank you for demonstrating that from Malanshan. The next speaker I would like to welcome from Ghana, Mr. Frank Kwabena Owusu, Director of Operations at the Creative Arts Council of Ghana. Its policy lead is the Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture of Ghana. Mr. Frank Owusu is currently the Director of Operations, and this organization, this Creative Arts Council of Ghana, is an umbrella body that regulates all the activities of the creative industry in Ghana. So, Mr. Owusu, from your perspective, especially from the regulatory authority, would you like to share with us your experience, please?
The creative arts industry is one of the most lucrative ventures and employs millions of people, both skilled and unskilled, providing an array of profession on the value chain, including creative arts, innovates, and experts, amongst others. Its contribution is enormous, providing solutions to most countries' unemployment challenges. The problems notwithstanding, this sector contributes significantly to the GDP of any country. When the arts are well enabled, it casts rippling effects on the players and the economy at large. In March 2017, His Excellency Nana Akufo-Addo made a bold commitment by assuring the Ghanaian creative practitioners of the establishment of a creative arts council that would coordinate and harmonize the various interest groups and fragmented associations into a well-functioning body to regulate and protect the interest of members. 3 years down the lane, the council has cemented the process leading to the achievement of these monumental projects, made strides and consolidated some gains in achieving these deliverables. Currently, stakeholder engagements have been made and the draft bill has been prepared and presented to Cabinet for onward submission to Parliament.
This bill will give birth to the Creative Arts Fund, and then industry people will know where to get financial support.
The Ministry of Tourism, Arts and Culture has signed a memorandum of understanding with China Bamboo International Technology and Economic Cooperation Limited, a technical conglomerate that specializes in international design, construction, and management of projects for the construction of a modern theater in the performance theater of the Koforidua Center for National Culture with 1,500 seating capacity has officially been commissioned for use. as part of the grand agenda to build regional theaters. The President of the Republic of Ghana, Nana Akufo-Addo, directed the Minister of Tourism, Arts and Culture, with support from the Ghana Tourism Authority, to organize a routine masterclass for our players to educate, refresh and reorient our knowledge in the fast-changing dynamic industry of ours, in order to position our creative industry as a preferred destination for any investor.
Really is how do I define and identify a standard of excellence? Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening, wherever you are listening and watching to us from. My name is Frank Kwabna Owusu, like rightly introduced. I am the head of operations at the Creative Arts Council, recently put together in Ghana just about 3 years ago. And so we are a very young council, but very dynamic. And in the midst of COVID, a lot has happened. So I'm here to share with you some of the few things and the highlights with regards to Ghana, creative economy and tourism. And also to let you know plans that we've been able to undertake to be able to thrive even amidst COVID. Let me take you through the slides. So my outline is going to cover the overview of the creative arts industry in Ghana, and also the creative industry of Ghana and its impact on the economy. And then amidst COVID-19 pandemic, what we have been able to do, including Ghana's creative industry, which was once a powerhouse of creativity. And I'll put a spotlight on areas that needs collaboration from, of course, organizers of this very beautiful webinar, South, and all other industries and agencies across the world where we can also collaborate, and also our needs. So first of all, I'd like to share with you a little overview of the creative industry in Ghana. Ghana is a very beautiful country, and still our creative economy is very vibrant and booming, and has consistently supported the acceleration of growth in the tourism sector in Ghana. The arts and cultural production is very young, inclusive and entrepreneurial. Our part of culture and arts is a catalyst for urban development and even for tourism growth. It is considered an informal economy, but however, in the emerging countries like Ghana, it is estimated to provide 1.2 million jobs. What we have and what we know. We have been gifted with the Creative Arts Council, an umbrella body to regulate and promote the creative industry in Ghana. We have a young and vibrant creative economy that already exists policies, regulations, rules, laws to ensure that we have a vibrant creative and cultural industry. The problems, existing rules and regulations do not take into account the latest consumer trends in the creative and cultural sector. That is why this webinar is very important, so we can be able to outline areas that a country like Ghana will need support, we need collaborations from, so we can all come on board, so we can, develop the creative and cultural sector in Ghana. Amidst COVID-19, what we've been able to do, yes, globally, we've all been hit. Let me take you through these slides and tell you what Ghana has been able to do to save our creative sector. Digital survey of the effect of COVID-19 pandemic on the creative economy and its place in Ghana has been done. And the responses that came out from this survey, one key aspect that was highlighted was funding. And this came from the players of the sector, that it was a very big challenge. After being hit, our industry needed funding to inject into their systems so they can be able to revive and grow. So we sought for relief for programs from the government and for the alien economy. And over 10,000 individuals and small medium scale industries have so far benefited out of the 50 million cedis that was given to the sector by the current government, just to be able to resuscitate our creative sector and be able to play on the international market. We also introduced an area of digital marketing and distribution avenues to players in the industry, and series of master classes and webinars to inform our industry of the state that we are in and the measures taken, as well as opportunities that are available for our sector to be able to boost and springboard the alien ones. Ghana's creative economy, once upon a time, was a powerhouse, and I'll tell you why. Ghana is credited with the invention of the promotion of the High Life Journal, which I'm sure most of you have heard, which is enjoyed in many African countries as well as some parts of the world. Ghanaian artists like Osibisa took the world by storm in the 80s and in the early 90s, paving the way for African artists to make their mark on the international scene. In 1990, a Ghanaian movie like I Told You So became the first Ghanaian movie to be successful on the international scene and receiving great reviews from the New York Times and others. And this paved way for Ghanaian film industry to collaborate with other industries in developed countries. And other films like Deadly Voyage also made waves on the international market. Once upon a time, we were a powerhouse. The areas that we will need fostering of strength and fostering of collaborations are what I've been able to outline here. One major aspect is digital and streaming services for our music industry. Our music in Ghana has actually complemented the growth of tourism in this country. It's a very serious attraction area, and we have contributed a lot to the economy of this country. However, when it comes to areas of digital and streaming services, we lack the various investment in this sector. These are areas that we need collaborations from online distribution platform for film and visual artists, and also funding for big ticket productions. We are able to actually undertake very good. We have good script writers, good storylines, interesting attractions in Ghana. However, we are unable to undertake big productions that will attract the Western world to come on board and collaborate. So these areas are very gray that we would also need collaboration from. Production collaboration as well in areas of music and film, and as well as infrastructure in areas of film villages, big production houses and studios, cinemas, and theaters for exhibition of arts, music, and theater arts. So I would like to take this opportunity to just let everyone know that Ghana, amidst COVID, we have been very, very fortunate that our COVID cases, active cases in Ghana, from when COVID started, was about 50,941 as of today. And out of that, 49,519 recovery cases. And so you can tell that our recovery cases is almost at par with the active cases that we were able to receive. Means that the systems have been put in place to ensure that people who are affected with the COVID are recovered. And so far, the rate of recovery is good. The death toll is around 323, and active cases as of today is only 67. So I would like to take this opportunity to invite collaborations from across the world to come and help us boost our creative industry, and to also partner in the various areas that we need support, right? Infrastructure, digital services, and promotion of our arts and culture. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Owusu. Congratulations for the 3 years accomplishment of your young council, but a lot of accomplishments already achieved to support creative economy in Ghana to be able to participate better in the international market. And thank you also for reflecting on what are the areas for further collaboration with all around the world, developed countries and developing countries, in digital services, digital platforms, infrastructures, and funding for big ticket projects. Thank you so much for sharing those insights. And now I would like to welcome Mr. Aloysius Mapalo on his capacity of a tourism operations specialist with the city government of Baguio, the Philippines. Mr. Mapalo spearheaded the planning and the implementation of the tourism recovery plan of the city, jumpstarting its tourism restart and economic recovery. The same, before the presentation, let's not lose the opportunity to take a virtual tour to the city.
I'm blessed. Naalala mo ba nung una tayong nagkita?
Pero napareflect siya.
Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to everyone, and greetings from the Philippines. First and foremost, thank you very much for this opportunity and the privilege to share and discuss with you our experience here in Baguio City, the Philippines, particularly on how we planned and implemented tourism innovations to jumpstart recovering from this pandemic, particularly for the worst hit our creative sector. We were designated as a UNESCO Creative City for Crafts and Folk Art in 2017. This designation has made us recalibrate our programs for sustainable economy, this time focusing on creativity, particularly on local arts and crafts as major driver for economic opportunities and growth. We were able to have a good head start when after a year we were able to hold the very first Baguio Creative Festival, dubbed as Entacol, in 2018. It became a chance for us to start promoting creativity not only as a cultural force defining our identity as a people, but also as a means for economic growth, particularly to the younger population. In 2019, we held the second creative festival, this time called Ibag-iyo 2019. It was this time when we focused on product development and design thinking trainings through competitions, symposia, conferences. And it was also the first time that we invited international participants to this festival. But the pandemic happened. We never thought how it will badly hit us until we realized that our traditional market, which are the tourists, has not come due to travel restrictions. There is 63% decrease in tourist arrivals as early as January to February of 2020, and practically zero tourist arrivals from April to May. That's an estimated loss of 1.6 billion pesos or $33 million in potential tourism gross receipts, which should have gone to our creative and tourism sector. As a major tourist destination in the country here in the Philippines, where many rely on tourism for livelihood and employment, we had to start planning for at first relief, then contingency, and eventually recovery. We needed to revive local economy the soonest by rethinking of the design and development of tourism products and services and bringing back travel confidence. And we realized that there was no other way but capitalize on strategic solutions using digital platforms. Less contact, less paper transactions, and therefore safe. This is the time we were also given the chance to reset on how we look at tourism and creative economy in a different perspective. Understanding that to be more resilient for the future, we shall advocate practices of responsible and sustainable tourism. We were determined to jumpstart our recovery with guidelines that will take us slow, safe, and sure. Cautious in every step that this will be a tricky effort to find that right balance between lifting back economy and ensuring the safety of our constituents. So we came up with innovations on tourism. First, we were the first one in the country to create a localized travel corridor with nearby provinces in the lowlands, which we call the Ridge and Reef Travel Corridor, and the development and deployment of an online visitor registration system, which we call the Baguio Visita, short for Visitors Information and Travel Assistance. The Ridge and Reef Travel Corridor include, aside from Baguio City, the provinces of Ilocos Norte, Ilocos Sur, La Union, and Pangasinan. It is programmed in such a way that we initially start by enticing intra-travel or tourists traveling from within the corridor. Then we gradually expand our market by allowing travelers from other provinces to the corridor, but with strict protocols and requirements. This is where we are in right now. As we went along with the travel corridor program, we've encountered several concerns that we've tried to address along the way as follows. First, how we should manage visitor flow from one province to another, how to enrich tourism experiences. Our second and I think more important innovation is digital tourism management through the Baguio Visita. So this Baguio Visita, an online platform, features online registration for auto-regulation and real-time data analytics, a QR-coded e-tickets as electronic ID and health data for contact tracing and contactless processes, safe and compliant tourism establishments and services listings for travel confidence, tourism establishments dashboard for empowered marketing, and tourist sites and services directory with feedback mechanism for empowered tourist experience. The four components of the system include the following: a visitor dashboard where accounts and travel requests are made online, complete with information and travel guide. Then we have an establishment and site portal where establishment can customize their guidelines and restrictions and also upload their services offerings online. The admin or administrative interface where an administrator can monitor travel requests and come up with real-time data analytics and interact with tourists. And in the near future, we'll also come up with mobile app, the mobile component of the online system. This system helped us implement our guidelines for tourists, starting with a required pre-registration, where a tourist will be issued a QR-coded tourist pass or QTP. This is what they will use when they go to the triage, checking in at hotels, and when going around tourist sites serving as contact tracing module and electronic ID and health status for our tourists. So far, after implementing this system and guidelines, we have now actually, after just a month, when we started in October 22, 10,559 domestic tourists, starting with the required pre-registration. And now with the chance to, now we were able to implement the third creative festival because of this. It is a blended festival in terms of having limited physical activities as virtual activities. The festival opened last November 6 with no less than our own 2 national artists, and thus starting reviving our creative economy. Currently, we are having a month-long artisans fair where local crafts and artworks are for sale locally, and we are being featured on social media for outside buyers. Even if still small in numbers, our own tourists buy several items to be resold in their home provinces. We also organize a contemporary art visual arts exhibition featuring budding and veteran local artists. This can also be viewed through social media platforms. To enliven our locals' craftsmanship, we also held crafts competitions such as jewelry and accessories making, tapestry and basket weaving, and woodworking as well. This is where a certain village in our city called Asin Woodcarvers Village is famous for. We also invited the public to create their own artworks to sell them as well at the park for the public. Prominent national designers and entrepreneurs were also invited to do training for our artisans and craftsmen through a design and product development workshop. And so it takes to be creative and innovative to be resilient during these hard times. And as we look forward in sustaining our gains by planning our ways forward, definitely as we learn from the experience, we do regular evaluation for improvement, and whenever necessary, adapt to changes in our situation, particularly in terms of public health and safety, as it should not be compromised at all times. Lastly, we are now on our to create a website that will become a selling and buying platform for our local arts and crafts. This will take our creative industry further outside of physical realms for greater economic opportunity and growth. This may be deployed by the end of the year. So thank you very much for listening, and hope to have all of you soon here in our beautiful Baguio City, your safe mountain haven in the Philippines. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mapolo, for taking us to your city full of arts, full of creativity, and also share your experience how to support recovering better for more responsible and sustainable tourism. Your phased approach and prudent but clear health protocol helps to create a travel corridor that is safe for tourism, and also leveraging the digital technology to facilitate this kind of recovery. And thank you, I do look forward to visit. So now let's go to Turkey. From Alanya City, Turkey, we have the honor to have Mrs. Paulina Muftuglu, member of Alanya City Council and President of Culture and Tourism Committee. Paulina is also speaking with the rich experiences of 25 years in tourism and accommodation services. Before that, let us also visit the city through a virtual tour.
Okay, thank you very much, and thank you for your nice words to our city. So, dear attendees, I am Pauliina Müftüoğlu from Alanya, Turkey, the member of Alanya City Council and at the same time President of Culture and Tourism Committee in Alanya. Due to the pandemic, we are all forced to be creative in our businesses and try to find a way for business recovery in the tourism sector. We try to create new ways to make this uncertainty less uncertain. As in Alanya, we have made many measures to make tourism in our area more safety. Among other, first step was to secure tourists as safe environment as possible, and at the same time make local people's own environment as safety as possible. I will later turn in my turn to tell you first the measures what we have done as a tourism sector, and then what municipality of Alanya made while pandemic. So Alanya's most income comes from tourism. So whole Alanya's infrastructure, hotel businesses, and all sub-businesses are dependent on tourism. Alanya is one of the best resorts of the world. Alanya has been a local stronghold for many Mediterranean-based empires. Alanya's greatest political importance came in the Middle Ages with the Seljuk Sultanate of Ruk under the rule of Alaaddin Keykubat I, from whom the city derives its name. His building campaign resulted in many of the city's landmarks, such as the Red Tower and the shipyard and the Alanya Castle, which you can see down in the picture. And as the tourism sector, we will continue to work by prioritizing the health and safety of our guests in the upcoming seasons and future seasons. Our region is under the digital and strategic studies and action plans carried out by the Turkey Tourism Promotion and Development Agency within the scope of Turkey as a whole, connected to tour operator, tourism travel agencies, accommodation entertainment sector, with the overall structure, functioning, formation by providing source markets and related diversification of products. In fact, during the 2020 pandemic, the Safe Tourism Certificate program was implemented in terms of transportation, accommodation, and entertainment sector. Safe Tourism Certificate program will be continued to the next year also. As the main sector tourism, we are in effort to protect the existing potential by renewing and developing it, and to head towards new markets in the medium and long term. With the vision of being the region with the highest quality of life as it planned, our main thing is to develop our tourism, to use the existing potential to increase our employment and competitiveness, and to maintain the price and service balance. We should diversify our tourism activities, spread them from seasonality to 12 months. It must offer alternative products: resort, general tourism, sports tourism, health tourism, spa and wellness, elderly tourism, disabled tourism, youth tourism, nature sport, culture tourism. So diversifying tourism is a must for us. For this, we will strive to continuously improve the quality of service and to ensure the continuous satisfaction of the guests and employees. And then let's come to the COVID-19 pandemic, which has attacked the whole world and has been continuing in our country since last March, has deeply affected our city social, culturally, and economically. Alanya is among the tourism regions in Mediterranean Sea, and the city's most important source of income is tourism. And this epidemic has increased the economic decline. Due to the decrease in our domestic and foreign tourism capacity, the tourism sector and other stuff. So I think that we all admit that the digitalization in tourism services is expected to accelerate, including higher use of automation, contactless payments and services, virtual experiences, and real-time information. Real-time information is really important. And also we are planning to have a map application for the Alanya. And priorities regular repeating customers in the first place, because we already have customers, so we have to find them again and remind them all the time that where we are and who we are and how is Alanya in this real situation. And domestic tourism, of course, might be the potential, and it is activating domestic markets. People will not feel comfortable traveling abroad so soon. So the near and the domestic markets might be a good potential. And also the other sub-businesses like an agriculture are also affected about this pandemic. But the most important thing is traveler confidence, safety and hygiene. This is a high criteria to select destination and tourism activities. Integrate the possibility of requesting doctor on demand, hospital centers and so on. More proactive approach in terms of cleaning and sanitation, new packages decided. So these are the measures that we have all made real in Turkey and Alanya by health and safety certification in hotels, transfers and other tourism activities. Begins when plane lands to destination until the plane returns back. Thank you for listening my turn, and I hope all the best for the coming years. And do not forget the most important components for this time: mask, social distances, and hand hygiene. And stay healthy. And welcome to Alanya.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Paulina, for inviting us to Alanya and for reminding us of the safety tips. Yes, stay well. Thank you very much. Now we have heard from many speakers from different kind of organizations, including regional organization of the United Nations, including intergovernmental organizations and national local authorities. One very important actor in this whole topic is private sector. Now I have the honor to welcome Mr. Michael Sudakasa, Chief Executive Officer of Africa Business Group. This is a South Africa-based African economic development company. The group specializes in the areas of private sector development, trade and investment within Africa and between Africa and the global business community.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good morning and good evening, depending upon where you are today. It really is a pleasure to be here, and thank you to the UN Office of South-South Cooperation. As was mentioned, my vantage point is slightly different than the others on the dais, and I'm coming to you to talk to you about the economic development impact and strategies that have been undertaken and suggested for those in the tourism sector, and particularly the sustainable tourism sector. We have, as an institution, a relationship with the African World Heritage Fund. And this is an organization that supports about 120 heritage sites that have been designated by UNESCO across Africa. And I thought it fitting to share that video of Mount Kilimanjaro, which is probably one of the most recognized African heritage sites. And I really want to talk about the strategies for recovery. It has been mentioned by colleagues that the COVID pandemic really hit the continent very hard. But to be honest, it was more economically than from a human tragedy standpoint. The continent is a continent of 1 billion plus people, 1.2 billion people. But the real impact of COVID has been that the countries from around the world that have been the sources of revenue as travelers have come to visit our beautiful fauna and flora and beaches have been ravaged to varying degrees by COVID themselves. And so they haven't been able to come this year. So our focus has been, and my focus is on how do we address and really deal with the challenges that have beset us. So there's 4 areas that we suggested back in May, and South Africa was one of the countries globally that had a very significant lockdown. So we talked about the focus and the need to pivot. For our private sectors and our tourism sectors, there was a need to create stronger partnership. How does one increase the ties locally? Other colleagues have mentioned the importance of local tourism. On the continent, we've just launched, and we're in the process in January of really opening up our African continental free trade area to promote intra-African trade and investment. The private sector plays a key role in supporting investment in the sector, in working in public and private partnerships with government, in working with media to promote tourism on the continent. And also, sport tourism is a huge area on the continent, as is the MICE sector, so meetings, incentives, conferences, and events. So there was a need for those who've just been historically outward facing in terms of attracting tourists to really start thinking about how does one engage with the domestic tourism sector. Educational linkages, and I talked about the key role that the heritage sites around the continent play in terms of being tourism destinations. But you find that in many instances, you have linkages that could be created between the K through 12 academic institutions, universities that have not really been strengthened like they might. Robben Island, which is one of South Africa's major heritage sites, annually gets far more tourists from outside of the country than having all of your K through 12 students come and learn about it. Again, it was a dark part of the history, but it is part of the history nonetheless. The other area, and I mentioned the Continental Free Trade Area, that became a key pivot and is still a key pivot, is focusing on intra-Africa tourism. Again, when countries around the continent think about tourists, they really think about tourists who are coming with pounds and yen and dollars and euros. But the fact of the matter is that visitors coming from other parts of the continent typically travel with dollars as well, because many of the properties are priced in dollars. So tourism becomes a major export product that, if you looked at where, and South Africa has done this more recently, most of the arrivals are coming from, it's from other travelers around the continent. And if you think about the first step that a business person takes before they trade or invest, it's a visit. Years ago, South Africa had a stay one more day campaign, stay another day, because they recognized that they would get multiple millions of dollars if those who came for business trips just stayed one more day. They also launched a program called the Short Left, which was aimed at trying to get, again, tourists from here in the center of the country in Gauteng to travel to Cape Town, to travel to Durban, to travel to George, the Short Left program. So the Short Left pivot is something that's been happening around the continent. Lastly, there's this need to, and a number of other colleagues have mentioned it, develop digital platforms and marketing campaigns. One of the things that was a challenge for the continent is that many of the sites had not been captured digitally, particularly in video forms. So South Africa was a bit on the back foot in terms of trying to showcase virtual tourism opportunities. But in the last 6 months, a lot of effort has been undertaken to improve that. And UNESCO has been one of the institutions that's been helping with skills development, with technology, so that one can, again, develop very attractive marketing campaigns, but also start providing virtual tour opportunities. The good practice that's emerged from all of this in terms of the digital platforms and the intervention of digitalization in the tourism sector has been in a couple of areas. There are far more podcasts now that try and raise the profile of specialists and experts in the industry. There's far more promotional videos that are now being developed and showcased to say, please stay home now while we have a pandemic, but do come back soon. And we're all on the edge, if you will, with all of the breakthroughs in medicine that are happening, and hoping that there's a vaccine very soon, or multiple vaccines. In South Africa and Kenya, which are two countries that have some of the most vibrant wildlife tourism, efforts were made to create virtual tours of savanna, virtual tours of wildlife habitat. And that was helpful because there, not only could you keep your tourist opportunities top of mind, they could get some income from it. Arguably, the sector that has been the most resilient in the last 6 months has been the MICE industry. And they were probably the fastest to pivot with technology like Zoom and Microsoft Teams and using video to allow people to meet in the same way almost that they had met before. And then there are many bespoke technologies as well. And they were allowed and able to basically ride out the storm quite a bit better than some of the other destinations where you physically had to be there. And industry bodies really used it in the mining and the agriculture, even in the tourism, except in the exhibition space where there was a bit of a lag. And then lastly, webinars. And there have been a plethora of those that have been developed and allowed Africans in the tourism space to talk about what are the challenges, to share knowledge about ways in which one can build back better, as they say. The other area, and this is my last set of points, is that the regions began to look at how they can promote collectively, how they can build resilience within the regions. And so RITOSA, which is probably the oldest of the institutions in the Southern Africa Development Community, and Southern Africa Development Community is the region that has the highest tourism because Zimbabwe, Zambia, Botswana, Namibia, and Mauritius, along with South Africa, are all leading destinations on the continent overall, promoted the trans-frontier conservation area and looked at how do you promote South Africa and Southern Africa as a region where if you visit one country, you book to travel to another. So you come to Cape Town, you come to Johannesburg, and you also go visit Victoria Falls in Zimbabwe. In East Africa, the East African community created a sectoral council on tourism and wildlife management. And they've been looking at how do you market as one. So they go to global events to promote tourism in the whole region as one. And that joint marketing has helped increase, and equally importantly, will help increase revenues in the tourism sector as they bounce back. In West Africa, and this is the youngest of the collaborative efforts that's formalized, the focus was around protecting biodiversity. West Africa has the lead, if you will, on the continent in developing a no visa scheme. So citizens of West Africa, the 15 states of the Economic Community of West Africa, can travel all across the region. And again, because the health numbers haven't been as astounding as they've been in some other places, business travel has continued and even some leisure travel in that region. The last region that is really focusing on this is IGAD. And it's really because Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda, in their own rights, are major tourism destinations. And so the region, the regional economic community is saying, how can we play a role as a block, if you will, to increase the revenues from tourism, to increase the economic development opportunities that come from tourism. So as we look at what will happen in 2021, and even at what will happen over this year-end period, there's cautious optimism. Many more of the countries now have their borders open because there was a period when borders were closed. The travel numbers are not likely to be what they were in 2019, but there definitely will be a movement of people on the African continent, not as much from off the continent onto the continent, but even preparations are being made for some of that. And we're hopeful that lessons that are learned in Asia and South America can be utilized in Africa in 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Michael Sudakasa. This is great because you have been telling us a lot of good examples of countries working together. Actually, we think the regional integration efforts is exactly South-South cooperation, and also the sub-regional mechanisms that you're talking about in Africa, about Retosa, East African Community, ECOWAS, and IGAD. So this actually is a perfect ending of the panel discussion. We do have 2 questions for the whole panel, whoever would like to, respond. The first question is about South-South cooperation, that I have heard from the panelists, the mentioning of regional platforms, for example, from Mr. Tonde. I have heard from colleagues, the panelists, about areas of collaboration that they are seeking to partner with other countries. And also I have heard sub-regional mechanisms supporting the recovery of tourism sector and also creative economy, leveraging digital technology. So the question is, we know that recently regional integration and groups of countries coming together has been a trend. This is not only in Africa, but also in Asia. The recent regional comprehensive economic partnership, and also we know ASEAN and SAARC as the sub-regional mechanism. The EU has been an earlier regional integration effort. So from your experiences, how can this regional integration and sub-regional mechanisms and neighborhood countries better support the recovery of tourism sector? That's the first question. And second question is, in your collaboration with your partners from the developing countries and developed countries, what are the challenges that you have experienced as different type of organizations? And what would be your expectation for office like us, United Nations Office for South-South Cooperation, to better facilitate this kind of partnership? Well, it's a long-winded question, but you can address any element of it. Whoever would like to share their views.
Yes, excellent. If I may, Tunde Fafnwa here from the Economic Commission for Africa Digital Center. As far as the first question on regional cooperation, I think there are 2 levels from our perspective. One is the international travel. As I mentioned, safety is a key requirement to recover tourism. And from that perspective, that travel health certificate and the digital travel health certificate that has been launched, we think is very critical. And of course, requires cooperation, not just from the African Union member states, but across the world in terms of getting tourists from a broader perspective. Secondly, with respect to the need to collaborate on online activities to support e-commerce, to better integrate both sides of the travel sector, as has been discussed by many of the colleagues, so that the visitors coming in, the establishments that are handling them, the private sector, the government, are all connected electronically on a portal, we see as really critical. And then to the second question on expectations of the South-South cooperation, I think we've seen many examples, that with China, that with regional bodies. And I think the UN Office of South-South Cooperation, through this kind of mechanism in terms of highlighting, communicating, and promoting the importance of this is very important going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tonde. So, Mr. Owusu, please.
Right. Thank you very much for the opportunity again. With the second, I would like to come from the second question on the support we will need from South-South and also the United Nations. We in Ghana have already made some attempts. We've made some attempts to get international collaborations with regards to, the arts, specifically with film and music, where, like I stated earlier, that we would need, a stronger collaboration will be with technology and infrastructure. And that's China and Malaysia and the rest are quite ahead. And so if you ask that the support we need from South-South, we need South-South to help to promote that bilateral exchanges between West Africa, especially where I am in Ghana, with the developed nations like Asia and the Americas to promote it, so they can be able to come down to also support us to put this infrastructure together and the digital platforms, technology-wise, so we can be able to also accelerate our growth as an African country. So these are the areas that we will need the South-South and the UN to step in to also, foster that relationship between us, be the bridge between us and the developed world.
Thank you so much, Frank. So Michael, please, the floor is yours.
Great, thank you very much. And I just wanted to echo Frank's thoughts, and I wanted to add a twist because we've been involved in the development of something called the African Tourism Investment Summit. This partnership that he was talking about creating, to me, would not always just have to be knowledge or technology transfer. There's tremendous opportunity for investment partnerships, taking initiatives that are working in the global South and bringing them to the continent with partners. And I think that would unlock investment, even domestic resources on the continent, because you would have a very knowledgeable partner. Whereas if you're just starting on your own and you've never done it, there's a lot of risk perception, but there's a tremendous amount of opportunity in the next 30 years. And I'll close with this. The continent will move from being a continent of roughly 1.2 billion people to close to 2.4 billion people. So every 10 years, there'll be 330 million more Africans. So it's a huge market and a fast growing one. So someone who's successful in tourism in the global South, there's tremendous opportunities to look at potential collaboration and joint venture in the continent of Africa. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Michael. Mr. Asimov, please.
Thank you. Thank you for the floor. Indeed, we are also trying to create a multilateral platform within our Turkey Council, within our organization, for sharing best experience among our member states. I have already mentioned about those digital project, and nowadays we are considering how to implement a modern Silk Road project, and taking into account best experience of Turkey. We are also, trying to involve not only observer or member states, but also some neighbor countries from the Central Asian region. For example, we are, inviting Tajikistan or other countries of this region to participate in our project. So that's why I think we can give information in more detail after implementing electronic pilot projects. It will be, send it yet, deliver it to your email separately.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Asimov. ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. This has been a very informative, insightful, and inspiring discussion. We all know that tourism is the important source of jobs, economic growth, and livelihood, and our human feelings for happiness. So we know COVID-19 is a disruption. But you know what? Whenever there's a disruption, human creativity will never surrender. Actually, human creativity will be the energy that enhances our recovery and build back better and more sustainable. So today, we have learned good experiences from different places, different organizations, all types of organizations working on recovering tourism through leveraging creativity and digital technology. We have also learned there are many areas that we can collaborate together. Because we know, although digital transformation is benefiting the whole world, but it's not opening to everybody. Many countries and communities are still facing a very wide digital gap. The digital divide is hard to cross. It is only by cooperation and support each other we can overcome this challenge. We also know creativity resides in everybody, and it doesn't know your class, your income level. However, when creativity is integrated into the global economy, it also faces inequality. Along the value chain, the value added may not necessarily benefit equally the origin of the creativity. So that's why creative economy, digital technology means so much for the future of the global South. And that's why South-South cooperation needs to also support and prioritize the future of a creative economy, digital economy, and the recovery of tourism. I thank you all for your contribution today, and I wish we can build even stronger partnership with you. In UN Office for South-South Cooperation, we're supported by the government of China to have been managing this cities cooperation project. The project aims to broker partnerships among cities. If we think farms are the organization of the agricultural society, if we think factories are the organization of industrial society, then cities are the organizations of the creative economy, the future society, and also the present of us today. Now, let's work together, no matter you're from the United Nations or an intergovernmental organization or private sector or national local authorities. I hope we can become friends and partners after this wonderful discussion today. Thank you very much. Stay well, travel well.